Welcome to the Occupational Safety Leadership Podcast, episode number 120. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the NIOSH Recommended Exposure Limits, also known as the REL. Last week, we talked about the PEL, the OSHA Permissible Exposure. And so this week, with the NIOSH RELs, they do not hold the legally enforceable standard. I think they're really great. It's just another way of looking at how do we figure out what's safe for the people out there. So in an ideal world, the exposure is zero, and that may not always be a goal that we can achieve given the technology and all that stuff. Let me go to the next slide. I've kind of got onto a little rant here. So why don't we just go over a definition of what the REL is? So it's going to be recommended that this is the amount of concentration of a substance in the workplace that most workers can be exposed to for a typical 10-hour workday or a 40-hour work week without experiencing adverse health effects. The OSHA PEL was 8 hours. The NIOSH REL is a 10-hour. So you would think if you just did some math and they were really close that this would always be lower at all times then. So also with the REL, this is when they've done the research, they've looked at things, and of course they don't have to follow the same form of like regulatory input from small businesses and propagate the rule and the whole deal. What they're just saying is the data tells us this is exactly what the recommended exposure limit is out there, not the permissible exposure. Let's go to the next slide here. So last week we did talk about a couple of the acronyms that you can find associated with the PEL. So the NIOSH REL also has the same thing here too. So they have the time weighted average, the TWA, the STEL, the short-term exposure, and that's for 15 minutes. So anybody who's watching the video sees that I did a typo and put 15 years. It's 15 minutes. The ceiling, C, is going to be something that can never be exceeded. And one that I like that they put in here, and hint, it would be pretty awesome if you did too, OSHA. Carcinogens, they put a CA, so that right from the get-go you know that it's a carcinogen out there. So I think anything that we can do to help to get that information out there is just really a good thing. What I have found, the older I get, is there is a lot of information out there, and it's really hard to find all that information out there. The guys here at NIOSH have done a great job of sitting down, and they're focused on the data only. Of course, they're obviously not enforcing rules and standards and all that, but they're just basically saying scientific data, scientific studies, this is what we have, and this is what the recommended exposure limit is. So I think they've done a really good job of this stuff then. So, but once again, this is not the legally enforceable standard, and it's also based off of a 10-hour workday. We do see where more companies are going to a 4-10 schedule. So I've done that quite a few times and loved it because I always had one day off to get my stuff done. And this is not based off of the 8-hour work shift then. So that is it for episode number 120, the NIOSH RELs. Thank you for joining me. I want to ask everybody to please like and subscribe if you're getting any value from these podcasts. Please share with your peers out there. I wish as a young safety professional that I had these kinds of resources out there when I first started, which seems like a super long time ago, 30 years ago. But part of this is that I'm trying to do everything I can to help that next generation of safety professional. I don't want them to struggle the same way I did with just trying to figure out what to do and how to keep people safe. So that is it for episode number 120. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Dr. David Ayers. Thank you and have a safe day.